Good morning. Welcome back to Deb's True Crime Notebook, where we read the documents for you so you don't have to. It's kind of an overcast, gloomy day here in the state of Indiana. We had rain last night, and as I understand it, all the folks who are at the courthouse got a little rain on them. So our thoughts are with them, and I hope that they're warm and dry now. It's been a very rigorous, difficult situation for everyone, including those who were there trying to gain information to help the rest of us who are putting information out. So this morning was day 7, and they did put Melissa Oberg on the stand. She is the firearms expert. Let's see what she had to say. Day 7 of the Richard Allen trial. Judge Gull informs that the jury had supervised access to their phones last night and the ability to speak with their families and check emails. The state then called Melissa Oberg to the stand. Oberg is employed by a clinical asset health management company, where she serves as an operations data analyst. Prior to this role, she worked as a forensic firearm examiner for the state of Indiana in the Indiana State Police, a position she resigned from in 2013. Oberg explained to the jury that her responsibilities included examining cartridges, conducting function tests on firearms, and performing tool mark examinations. Oberg mentioned to the jury that she has provided testimony in 112 cases. Oberg illustrated her work to the jury using slides and clarified the process involved in firearm and tool mark examinations. She defined a tool as a harder object that comes in contact with a softer object, leaving a mark on the softer one. A tool mark consists of features left on an object due to contact and the force exerted by a tool. She explained to the jury. She noted that there are 2 types of tool marks, impressed and striated. Oberg informed the jury that a cartridge is a complete unit of ammunition, specifically designed for use in a firearm. She describes its components, which include a casing, primer, powder, and the bullet, with the bullet serving as the projectile. Oberg presents the jury with a full cartridge and details the various parts of a firearm: slide stop, sight, hammer, magazine release, grip, magazine well, magazine, trigger guard, and frame. She goes on to explain the internal workings of a firearm and how its different components interact. Oberg emphasizes that the tools within the firearm are tougher than the cartridge or bullet they encounter. Additionally, she describes the cycle process of a cartridge and illustrates what a bullet appears like after being cycled. She demonstrates the cycling process of a pistol using a real firearm. After inserting the magazine and a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson dummy cartridge, she checks the barrel to ensure it is empty and unloaded. Then she inserts the magazine and cartridge, cycling the round. Oberg provides testimony on the various classifications of tool marks. She explains to the jury that some marks are created before manufacturing, others during, and some after. She informs the jury that examiners consider several factors to determine when a tool mark was made. Oberg details the procedure for testing a firearm and how the analysis is conducted. She explains that the key to an examiner's conclusion lies in test firing the firearm and comparing the results under 2 microscopes. She concludes by stating that she arrives at one of those 3 outcomes: identification, inconclusive, or exclusion. The prosecution then presents the jury with the actual cartridge retrieved from the crime scene, along with photographs taken during Oberg's examination. Oberg explains that the cartridge underwent DNA testing first, revealing no biological matter on it. She notes that it was in good condition and identified it as a Winchester brand .40 caliber cartridge. She informs the jury that there are various marks on the head and sides of the cartridge, including 3 potential ejector marks, 1 oriented in one direction and 2 in another. And that concludes the morning session with testimony from Melissa Oberg. She was the firearms specialist who did the examination on the bullet. And I think she sounds like she's done a very thorough job. Her explanations were amazing and very clear. And I thought that it might be important for you to understand, if you don't know, what striation marks are. So I'm going to give you that explanation. Striation marks are microscopic contour variations on the surface of an object that are caused by a combination of force and motion. They can be produced in a number of ways, including firearms. When a gun barrel, harder material, is forced against a bullet, softer material, the bullet is left with striations. These striations can be used to identify the gun that fired the bullet. Now, as I understand it from Oberg's testimony, she didn't find one striation mark, but 3. As I'm listening to this description, it reminds me of silver jewelry. If you're wearing silver jewelry, it's much more likely to get scratched up because it's a softer material, much more likely than gold, which is a harder material. So that's kind of a little example of what they're talking about here, softer versus harder, the gun being the harder material, the bullet being made of the softer material. I also found it interesting that Melissa Oberg told us that there was no DNA on that bullet. So whoever put the bullet in the actual gun was careful with that, possibly even using a glove. Some of the things that I think were probably very beneficial for the jury to help their understanding of firearms examinations is that she demonstrated the cycling process of a pistol using a real firearm. Melissa Oberg did that. And I think that it was also very beneficial that they got an opportunity to look at the Smith & Wesson, or the Winchester, cartridge. It was a .40 caliber that had the actual striation marks on it that was found at the actual murder scene. The jury was able to look at that, pass it around, and I'm wondering if they had any questions concerning the process that she goes through. I guess we'll find that out after lunch. And I'll get back to you and let you know what we discover. And that's the morning update from the Richard Allen trial, day 7. We'll have more after the lunch break. Have not heard if that has occurred yet or not. And we'll get back to you and let you know what the testimony was like after that. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell for all notifications. And you guys have been sharing this in groups and with your friends, and I appreciate you so much. I really do. That helps a lot to get good factual information out. Also, don't forget to leave the comments. The comments are getting better and better every day. I am amazed at what smart people are watching. We'll see you soon on Deb's True Crime Notebook.